Hello class, this is Mr. Steigerwald. We're going to be taking notes on lesson 3.1, parallel lines and transversals. Our objectives for this section is to 1. Identify the relationship between two lines or two planes, and 2. Name angle pairs formed by parallel lines and transversals. Now before we get into the vocabulary, I want you to draw this diagram to the right of vocabulary with your lines T, R, S and angles 1 through 8. Go ahead and write that down now. Beep. I also want you to take note of the area that is above and below line R and line S, and also the area between lines R and S. Now the area between lines R and S, that's going to be called the interior. That's that blue space right there. The area above lines R and below the lines S, that is going to be called the exterior. Go ahead and please make a note of that. Beep. Now on to the definitions. We're going to start off with parallel lines. These are lines which are coplanar and do not intersect. Our example for parallel lines would look something like this. These two lines will never intersect. They're parallel to each other. To show that they're parallel, the notation will be with an arrow. That'll state that those two lines are parallel. Now the notation that goes along with this too, if we're going to write down that these two lines are parallel, we have to use like a big number 11. Let me show you that. Let's call the first line line A and the second line line B. To show that, notation-wise, to show that line A is parallel to line B, it will look like this. First of all, notation will be A parallel to B. Now if we had more than just two lines on our plane, let's call this line D and line L. To show that these are parallel to each other but not parallel to A or B, we have to use the arrow again, but we're not going to just use one, we're going to use two to show that line D is parallel to line L. Since these have two arrows and line A only has one, we know that line A is not parallel to line D or line L. Go ahead and write this down. Beep. The next definition is perpendicular lines. Remember, the notation is a big upside down capital T. These are lines which intersect at 90-degree angles. Let's do an example. Let's say that we have line ST being perpendicular to line QB. And let's say that they intersect at point K. We would write down that these two lines are perpendicular as long as we see this right angle right here, because they will intersect at a 90-degree angle. And the notation for that is that line ST is perpendicular, there's that upside down T, line QB. Beep. The next definition, skew lines. The lines which are not coplanar and not parallel to each other. These will be skew lines. Beep. Parallel planes. These are planes that do not intersect. Beep. Number 5, with your transversal. It's a line that intersects two coplanar lines at two different points. Now let's refer back to the diagram above, right next to where it says vocabulary. And we're going to be looking at the transversal. This transversal here is what I will highlight in red. That there is our transversal. It intersects two lines at two different points. Beep. Number 6, corresponding angles. These are angles that lie on the same side of the transversal T on the same side of lines R and S. Now again, we are going to look at the diagram up above and right next to the vocabulary, and we're going to identify these corresponding angles. Now by definition again, it's going to lay on the same side of the transversal T. The transversal is in red here, and on the same side of lines R and S. So we would say angle 1 and angle 2 are corresponding angles, as well as angle 3 and angle 4, as well as 5 and angle 6, as well as angle 7 and angle 8. We just take a look at angle 1 and angle 2 for 1 second here. You see that they're both on the same side of the transversal T. It's on the left-hand side of that red line, and they're going to be on the same side of lines R and S. So you see that it's on top of line R as well as on top of line S. So the corresponding angles will be angle 1 and angle 2, angle 3 and angle 4, angle 5 and angle 6, and angle 7 and angle 8. Go ahead and write this down in your notes. Beep. The next definition is alternate interior angles. These are angles that lie on opposite sides of the transversal T between lines R and S. Alternate, they go on either side of the transversal, and the interior angles, you see it's in this blue space. So the alternate interior angles will be angle 5 and angle 4, and angle 7 and angle 2. So write this down, that angle 5 and angle 4 are alternate interior angles, and angle 7 and angle 2 are also alternate interior angles. Beep. The next definition is alternate exterior angles. These are angles that lie on opposite sides of the transversal T and outside lines R and S. So alternate, they go from one side of the transversal to the other, and they're going to be on the outside of lines R and S. So these would be angles 1 and 8 are alternate exterior angles, as well as the pairings of angle 3 and angle 6. Let's go ahead and write this down to the right of our definition. So we'll have angle 1 and angle 8 are alternate exterior angles, as well as angle 3 and angle 6. Beep. Number 9, consecutive interior angles. These are angles that lie on the same side of the transversal T and between line R and S. Consecutive interior angles. Consecutive, one after the other. So we would have angle 5 and angle 2 are consecutive interior angles, as well as angle 7 and angle 4. So let's go ahead and write that down. That angle 5 and angle 2 are consecutive interior angles, and we have angle 7 and angle 4 are also consecutive interior angles. Now, the one thing I also want you to do here with the consecutive interior angles, let's change this. So cross out consecutive interior angles and put same side interior angles. A lot of textbooks will use that definition instead, and I like it too. I know this textbook that we're using use consecutive interior angles, but they're on the same side of our transversal. So let's make it easier on ourselves. So column number 9, same side interior angles. Beep. The stuff that you have on the back of the sheet, I'll try not to copy it for you. But we're going to stop with number 9 with the definitions, and we're done for the notes for section 3.1. Thanks, and we'll see you tomorrow. Bye.